Hello, and thank you for joining us for this video on New York's Wage Theft Prevention Act by Meyer and Associates, Counselors at Law, PLLC. But first, a brief disclaimer. This presentation is designed to give general information about the topic and does not constitute legal, financial, or accounting advice. Before taking any action, it is recommended that you speak with an attorney, accountant, or investment professional. A little bit about me. My name is Justin Meyer, and I'm an attorney licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Florida. I publish articles on investing, due diligence best practices. I work with small businesses on legal issues, from formation to employee issues. I work with them on contracts and real estate. I also work with families and handle estate planning and real estate matters. And I work with other clients on issues as they arise. The Wage Theft Protection Act was passed in 2011 in New York, and what it does is it requires employers to disclose pay rates and schedules to their employees by using a form. It also requires employers to disclose the amount of the tip allowance if they take one. Remember, not all employees are entitled to a full tip allowance. It adds a burden for employers because they must keep the original form for 6 years. They must keep it somewhere where it's accessible. That doesn't mean it has to be kept on site, but it does need to be kept somewhere where if the state comes looking for it, they can get it. We actually recommend employers keep the original and one copy. You keep all of the originals together for, say, 2014, and then you keep one copy in each employee's employee file. Employees must sign the form, and they must be given a copy of the signed form as well. So employees must be given a copy of the form, have it signed, and then receive a photocopy of that back. The forms are available in 7 languages: English, Spanish, Haitian Creole, Polish, Russian, Chinese, and Korean. What's important to note here is that if your employees speak one of those languages, they need to get the form in that language. If you have an employee who speaks a language other than one of the ones listed as their native language, they get the English form and they have to check a box. And we'll go over the form a little later on so you'll be able to see what it looks like. Forms must be given to employees on their first day. It goes along with the I-9 and the W-4. But then they get it again every year on or before February 1st. Doesn't matter if there's a change in the pay rate, in the pay schedule. If nothing has changed, they still need to get the form. And then they get the form again whenever there's a change in allowances or the payday. They do not need to get the form if there's a change in their pay rate, because that would be shown on their pay stub. However, if that information isn't on their pay stub, they do need to get a new form. It's important to know also there are different forms for differently paid employees. Exempt employees and hourly employees have different forms, as do salaried employees who are non-exempt. These are employees who you pay $35,000 a year for 40 hours of work a week. It's important to note, by the way, that they are not exempt from overtime. So if they work 45 hours, you actually have to pay them overtime. Employees who are paid multiple hourly rates also get their own form, and employees who receive day rates or per piece rates also get their own form. We're going to review the commonly needed forms, so we'll review the forms for exempt employees, hourly employees, and salaried employees who are non-exempt. But most of the forms that we're going to go over next will cover the information that you need for all of the forms. The only thing that really changes is the employee's pay rate information, and you'll see that. So let's take a look at the forms. The form actually has 8 sections, and I've broken it down a little bit. The first one is the employer information. This is pretty straightforward. You need to give them the name of the employer and then whatever the DBAs are, if you have any. You can give them your employer ID number if you wish, though you do not have to. You have to give them the physical address of the company and its mailing address. And then you have to give your phone number. If you have multiple locations, you can give your main headquarters, or you can give the location where the data will be kept, where this form will be kept. You then have to say when the notice is being given. At hiring, on or before February 1st, or before a change in pay rates, allowances claimed, or payday. Again, if you're just changing the pay rate and it is clear what you are doing from the pay stub, you do not need to give this form again. You do need to give this form at hiring and then on or before February 1st each year. And it's a simple check the box. We're skipping number 3. We'll come back to that. That changes for each employee type. But number 4 has the allowances taken. Now, if you run a restaurant, you would have a tip allowance, and that varies by employee. But for a server, it's about $5. If you take an allowance for meals or for lodging or for anything else, you would note it here. Now, before you say that you have employees who work on tips, you want to make sure that you are taking the proper tip allowance. Not all employees are entitled to be paid solely from tips. If you don't take any allowances, you check the box that's none. Number 5, regular payday, that's pretty straightforward. If you pay every Friday, put that down. If you pay on the 1st and the 15th of the month, you would write that. So it depends entirely on what your regular paydays are. Every other week, every other Tuesday. And then you check how you pay. If you pay weekly or bi-weekly, you can check that. If you pay twice a month, you can write that. Twice a month, or on the 15th and 30th, or on the 1st and 15th, is not really bi-weekly, so you do want to be careful there, because bi-weekly is every other week, and the 15th and 30th will sometimes be on over 3 weeks. The employee does have to acknowledge the form. So employee acknowledgement is that they receive the form. They check this box either in English, and this is from the English form, or if it were in some other language, Spanish, Haitian Creole, they would check that box. Or if you're dealing with an employee whose primary language is not English, you would have them check the box that says that their primary language is some other language. You have them fill that in. And as long as it's a language that's not included in the list that I showed you before, then that they get the English form. If their primary language is Portuguese or Japanese or Thai, they get this form. Have the employee print their name, or you can print their name for them, which actually is a better practice, because then you know who gets what form. Have them sign it and date it, and you have to put your name as well, the preparer's name and title. Once it's signed, then you want to make a photocopy of it and give it back to them pretty much immediately. So now we're going to take a look at the 2 sections that are different. The 2 sections that are different for each employee are Section 3 and Section 7. Section 3 breaks down the standard pay for the employee, and then Section 7 is their overtime pay rate. So let's start with exempt employees. These are employees who do not need to be paid overtime. You put the pay rate, $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, whatever it is. We recommend for number 7 not listing why you think that the employee is exempt from overtime. If you're right, then you don't get any extra points, but if you're wrong, you could just be setting yourself up for trouble. Because it's optional, we recommend avoiding it. We recommend not putting it in there. For hourly employees, the form's a little bit different. You have to put what their hourly rate is. Remember, in New York right now, the minimum wage is $8 per hour. And then you have to put the overtime pay rate. That has to be at least 1.5 times the worker's regular rate. There are exceptions to that rule, but that's not what we're going to get into today. And overtime has to kick in at 40 hours. Doesn't matter how many hours they work each day, but at 40 hours for the week, overtime kicks in. For non-exempt salaried employees, you have to write their salary. If they get paid $35,000 per year, you would put $35,000 in per year. If they get paid $5,000 per month, you would write it that way. You have to write down also the weekly hours. So if you expect your employee to work 40 hours or 30 hours or 28 hours, you have to put that in. You then need to figure out what their hourly rate is, because you still have to put in for number 7 their overtime pay rate. Remember, a non-exempt salaried employee, a secretary who you pay $40,000 a year to for 40 hours a week of work, is still eligible for overtime. So you still need to calculate what her hourly rate is and put in the overtime rate. So that's it. Our contact information, if you have any questions, you can feel free to call 631-434-7633, or you can email me. My email address is jmeyer@meyeresq.com. Our website is http://www.meyeresq.com, where we have some of the forms that you would need for the Wage Theft Protection Act on our website. Hope you found this informative, and I hope it helps you to do better business. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.